This is Democracy Watch. Marc, we've got some bombshell news out of Georgia on a story that we've been covering a lot, the ability of Georgia election officials to refuse to certify election results. We've got an update in the aftermath of one Republican's efforts to do exactly that. Can you explain what happened?
So there's been a lot of coverage about the State Board of Elections in Georgia, the State Election Board, passing a rule to allow election denier county board members to muck around and perhaps not certify accurate election results on time in 2024. But one of the predecessors to that rule was actually the actions and a lawsuit brought by one of the members of the Fulton County Election Board, a Republican named Adams, and she was trying to refuse to certify that county's May primary. She went to court to say she has the right to not certify the election results. So that essentially, she was, before the State Board of Election passed its rule, was already trying to say, I have this right not to certify election results because I don't like them or I don't have confidence in them or whatever nonsense reason she has. Well, guess what? That lawsuit got dismissed by the judge who had this case in Fulton County. So that is a good news, albeit, it is only the first battle in what is going to be a long series of battles and war on this, but it is at least the first good news win in that larger fight.
Okay, so the judge dismissed this case without prejudice. That means that the plaintiff here can refile charges. Why not just dismiss the case with prejudice and basically preclude the plaintiff from bringing this bogus lawsuit again?
Yeah, so for a couple of reasons. First of all, this whole notion of dismissing with prejudice or without prejudice, with prejudice is kind of a legalistic term that says you don't get to try again. Without prejudice means, okay, like you can try again. Right. And so courts tend to try to dismiss without prejudice. They try to say, look, your legal theory here is wrong. Okay, you don't win. But I'm not going to say you can't go back and try to figure out some other legal theory or some other legal way of doing it. Here, there was kind of a procedural as well as a substantive grounds to dismiss the case. And I think the judge was basically saying, like, look, you brought the wrong lawsuit. Like, you didn't get this right. So I'm going to dismiss it. But I'm not going to say you can never come back to the courthouse with another chance. But people need to understand the fact that judges want to give people another chance doesn't mean that they are saying that they will win the next time. They're just trying to be judicious, right? They're trying to rule only on the case in front of them.
The fact remains that there's still a rule in place that says that election officials can refuse to certify so long as there's reasonable doubt about the validity of the results. And of course, that's subjective enough to encompass basically everything for these Republicans. So this court decision and the rule seem to be in conflict here. Which one takes priority?
Yeah, so what's interesting is they're not so much in conflict as you need to understand them as two prongs of the Republican election subversion playbook, right? So at the same time that this election denier in Fulton County was bringing this lawsuit, a different set of election deniers, the MAGA people called out at the rally, were passing a broader rule, right? So they were sort of two tracking it, right? They were like, on the one hand, I don't know if they were working together, but there were two tracks to this, right? One is a lawsuit was going on around a specific election in Fulton County. The other was a broader rule. The Fulton County one has now been dismissed. The rule has been challenged by the Democratic National Committee, and kudos to them for bringing that lawsuit. So that will tackle the broader rule to see whether that rule has validity. And I have confidence in those lawyers that they're going to win that case. But that and if they win that, then that probably is game, set, match for any further lawsuit here by this plaintiff in Fulton County. But the reverse is not true. This case in Fulton County was dismissed regardless of whether that rule is in place.
Well, does this court ruling invalidate the rule that election officials can refuse to certify?
No, because it was before she was claiming this power before there was a rule. So in other words, she wasn't operating under this rule. So this rule has not yet been tested. That's what's being tested in this other lawsuit.
But couldn't more broadly this idea that election officials can refuse to certify, now that the court has swatted it down, doesn't that then encompass the rule that also basically says the same thing? Or does it have to be specifically predicated on the case at hand?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Judges try to rule on the cases that are directly before them. Sometimes that is frustrating. Sometimes people don't understand, why in Nevada, for example, it seems like the Republicans and their allies can bring a series of the same lawsuit over and over again, and it never, why is that possible? It's because the judges are ruling on each individual case. And sure, if the cases get up high enough into the court system, state Supreme Courts and the like, then you can start to talk about things that have broader application. But this dismissal here without prejudice was really just about this one case.
Okay, and then also because it's a trial court, it doesn't establish precedent. You need to go up to a circuit court or a Supreme Court to actually establish precedent. So really it doesn't preclude anybody from doing anything.
Well, it precludes some things. I mean, it means that the winner of that May election gets to have their seat.
So what is the status of the rule thus far? This rule that was passed in Georgia saying that election officials can refuse to certify so long as there's some reasonable suspicion that the election results aren't valid. What's the status of that, and will it be litigated in full before the election?
Yeah, so that rule was passed by the 3 of 5 members, and I always want to point this out. This was a 5-member board, right? So Donald Trump calling out 3 of them was not congratulating the entire board. He was not saying the entire board were pit bulls. He was not saying the entire board were working for his victory, right? 3 of the 5 passed this rule. It was then challenged in court by the Democratic National Committee in what reads to me as a very strong lawsuit, and that case will now proceed to see whether that rule is valid or invalid. I expect that case will be litigated in time before the 2024 election, so it'll move on a pretty quick time frame. And in my opinion, I think that they will prevail.
Well, you have been a leading voice on what's happening in Georgia, which really is ground zero for Republicans' efforts to subvert the election results, even before a single vote has been cast. So again, for those watching right now, if you want to support the work that Marc does and be able to benefit from reading an amazing resource, please sign up for Democracy Docket. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.